You want the other. Catfish and chitlins. Better known to a lot of people as chitterlings, but not my people. Catfish, chitlins. That's it.
I'm not a hot sauce guy. I admit that. I'm not a hot sauce guy. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Mets' new ace, Steve Kerr's future, and Booger McFarland joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with the Denver Broncos as they approach their AFC Championship game against New England without their usual starting quarterback, Bo Nix, who broke his ankle late in the game against Buffalo last weekend. The Broncos' new quarterback is veteran backup Jarrett Stidham, who hasn't thrown a pass in the NFL in 2 years. At the moment, the Broncos are 5.5-point underdogs at home to New England, an unprecedented number for a home team in a conference championship game. Wilbon, do you consider the Broncos to be significant underdogs in this game?
Yes, of course I do. They're missing their starting quarterback. Yes. And there's no team in the league today, 32 teams, if missing its starting quarterback, that would be like less than a heavy underdog. I'll mention one team I can think of ever in my lifetime, at least in my adult lifetime, where the backup quarterback could come in and you could have almost the belief you have that you wouldn't a starting quarterback, and that would be Joe Montana and Steve Young. That's it, because they both wore the gold jackets. Everybody else, Tony, the answer is massive underdog. And I don't care what Sean Payton says. Sean Payton's done all the right things, starting with his messaging in the postgame where he had a second postgame after they lost the game. I mean, after they won the game, and he broke his ankle. He's done all the right things. It doesn't matter what he says. It doesn't matter what the reps are. They're playing a quarterback they would quickly opt out of if they could.
So let me try and take the other side of this just for a little bit of balance. And I will say that I'm going to start with Sean Payton because he does know what he's doing. When he first got to Denver, one of the first guys he brought over was Stidham as an insurance policy, not to start, as an insurance policy. So he knows him a long time. He likes him a long time. He's been there 3 years now. His trajectory, Sean Payton's trajectory, has gone nothing but up. 8-9 the first year, then 10-7, then 14-3. Now, a lot of that was drafting Bo Nix, replacing Russell Wilson with Bo Nix. I'm not going to try to minimize that, but a lot of it is defense as well. They have the most sacks in the league this year. They have allowed the third fewest amount of points this year and last year. Losing Bo Nix, it's terrible.
Huge.
He's your starting quarterback and plays almost every down. But in a low-scoring game, it seems to me, maybe the defense can do something about that. I remember there's two things I want to say. One is that Phillip Rivers, at 45 years old, having not played at all in 5 years, came in and started 3 games for the Colts. And all things considered, I thought did a very good job, though the Colts did not win those games. And I remember Steve Young on this show yesterday saying what Jarrett Stidham is thinking is, please don't let me be the one to lose this game. I think, yes, that New England should be favored, but I'm going to analogize it to Miami and Indiana in a college game where we both thought that Miami had at least a chance and, in fact, covered. In fact, they covered.
Yeah, I don't know about covering, but if Sean Payton could get his starting quarterback back tomorrow by giving years off his own life, do you think he'd do it?
Yes, sure, of course.
Let's move to your Mets, landing the ace they've been looking for. New York traded 2 of its top prospects for Brewers All-Star Freddie Peralta and righty Tobias Myers. Last night, Peralta's the third big get for the Mets this week after signing Bo Bichette and trading for Luis Robert Jr. Tom, what does this say about each team, and what do you make of the Mets' big week?
All right, let me start with Peralta. 17-6 last year with a 2.70 ERA in 33 starts. And what was the result? Milwaukee had the best record in Major League Baseball. They lost in the playoffs when the Dodgers came up with spectacular pitching against them. But Peralta has had a tremendous 3 years in a row. I assume they are getting rid of him because he's in the last year of his contract and they can't afford to sign him to a new contract. I was told today that Milwaukee has done this before with Josh Hader.
Just last year.
With Josh Hader and Devin Williams.
Yeah.
Right. Now, Milwaukee has made the playoffs 7 of the last 8 years, as you know, because that division matters to you. So I'm not going to micromanage Milwaukee, okay? The Mets, they get a number one starter in Peralta. The Mets get a great infielder in Bo Bichette. And in Luis Robert Jr., a guy who hit 38 home runs and 80 RBI for the White Sox in 2023. But, Mike, does that make up for the loss of Pete Alonso? Does that make up for the loss of Brandon Nimmo and Jeff McNeil and the great closer Edwin Diaz? The Mets have a lot of names. They've been in the playoffs 2 of the last 8 years. Not 7, 2.
Well, and that's where I start, Tony. The Mets have a big week all the damn time. Pretty much every offseason they have a big week. And we're told how great the Mets are going to be. And they spend almost as much money as the Dodgers, and they do. I mean, they're like within $70, $80 million this year of the Dodgers.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, they go out, and this is what they do, and it doesn't work. So the Mets' big week doesn't mean jack. And so I understand Milwaukee, Tony. Milwaukee can scout. And when you are in a team, in a city, that's a mid-market team or a small-market team, you better be able to scout Oklahoma City, San Antonio, and, yes, the Milwaukee Brewers. So they got to let Freddie Peralta go because they figure they can't sign him. Then you know they've had some back channel or better than that conversation with his agent. Got to let him go. We get as much as we can. Those 2 prospects keep an eye on that the Mets had to turn loose to get Freddie Peralta back.
I'll just go to the Mets, the team of my youth, just for one small moment. In mid-June last year, they were 45-24. It was the best record in all of Major League Baseball, and they finished 38-55.
Yeah, there you have it.
We turn now to a story by Logan Murdoch of The Ringer, suggesting that Steve Kerr may not be back with the Warriors next year. Kerr's contract is up at the end of this season, and Murdoch reports that multiple assistant coaches on the Warriors have been operating under the premise that Kerr will not return. Kerr has been mum on the subject. Wilbon, does the speculation that Kerr will not return to the Warriors sound plausible to you?
Of course it does. It makes perfect sense. Steve Kerr can do what he wants. He's won 4 championships. And if this team, Tony, was 3 years ago or 4 years ago going into the 21-22 season when they, won another championship, then Steve Kerr might be thinking differently. But in this case, with Steph Curry and Draymond Green being on not just the back 9, what are they, on holes 16 and 17? It's done. It's okay. They had one of the great runs in the history of the NBA. Steve Kerr been part of 3 of the great runs. Chicago, San Antonio as a player, and then Golden State as a coach. Everything he could want, he's done. Yeah. And they're not going to win. I love them. I have loved my time going to San Francisco to cover the Warriors the last 11 years. That window has closed. I hate to say it. What's Steve Kerr supposed to do? Just hang around? He can do whatever he wants. If he wants to come back, he can and will, but it's understandable if he doesn't.
I'd love to disagree with you. I cannot disagree with you. Steve Kerr is now in his 12th season with the Warriors. He has 4 championships, could easily have had a 5th, and I know you agree with me on that.
Yeah, I do.
He has coached. He was the head coach of the United States men's Olympic basketball team once, and he won a gold medal. He has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that he's a great coach, and all we should do really is applaud him. When I think of Steve Kerr, I think of Steph Curry, I think of Klay Thompson, and I think of Draymond Green. Yep. That, to me, is the essence of the Warriors. Some people will say, well, what about Durant? He was there for 2 championships. Kevin Durant was a guy who, it seemed to me, was invited to dinner, ate the meal, and then left. I mean, he was just gone in a hurry. Klay Thompson is now gone, right? He's on Dallas. Bob Myers left a few years ago. So now it is just Curry and Green. Curry is under contract this year and next. Green is under contract this year, I believe, has an option for next year. Now, what we have done, you and I, the last 2 to 3 years, when we talk about the Warriors, we talk about the fact that they're not winning as many games as they used to win, and can they get back to that? Well, Jimmy Butler just went out for the whole year.
That's the
And now we're talking about the drama around someone named Jonathan Kuminga as if he is a critical piece. Much like you, I agree with this. It is waning. We see it waning. Let Kerr do whatever he wants. Let us take a break.
Absolutely.
Yeah, coming up. The Rams and Seahawks have split 2 tight games. We will ask Booger McFarland who he has in the rubber match.
We'll also ask him how he sees Fernando Mendoza's prospects at the NFL level. It's sad the breakup of the Warriors. It's not even a breakup. It's just an expiration.
We have NFL questions for our great friend, ESPN NFL and college football analyst, Booger McFarland, wearing an Indian Creek shirt where I've played. It's really good. Let's start with this. The Patriots at the Broncos. Okay, the Broncos defense is good. Is it good enough to make up for the loss of Bo Nix?
You know what, Tony? I think it is. I think they have the ability to rush the passer with Bonito and Cooper. They're two edge guys. They can cover you on the back end with Surtain and Moss. They're linebackers in the middle. They ball out all day long. So I think this defense, even though they didn't play well against Buffalo, they have the ability to sack your quarterback and turn you over. The key will be, can they get any help from the offense? I know that Bo Nix is not going to be there, and Jarrett Stidham, I think, is a very capable backup. He's going to have to do something. I don't think they can win this game 10-7 or 12-6 like some of the old days back with the Ravens and the Buccaneers and Mike Wilbon's 85 Bears. They're going to have to score 17 to 20 points. And if they do that, I think this defense is good enough to make life miserable for Drake May.
That's Booker just threw some factors in there. All right. Rams and Seahawks. They've split two really tight games, as you know, this season, Booger. What's going to be the difference in the third game, and which way are you leaning?
Well, I think the difference is if you're the Rams, you got to be able to run the football. Like the Rams have always been that team, a little bit finesse. Yeah, they kind of run the ball, but they do it schematically because Sean McVay does a great job with the mid zone and the outside zone. And if you think about it, who was the Rams' nemesis for a long time? It was the 49ers because the 49ers were so much more physical than the Rams. Well, guess who's the most physical team now? It's the Seattle Seahawks. That defensive line led by Williams, Murphy, and Lawrence is outstanding. They want to take you into a phone booth and beat the hell out of you. And I think if you're the Rams, you're going to have to match the Seahawks' physicality. You got to run the football. No, they don't have to run it for 200 yards, but they got to be able to take some of the pressure off of Matthew Stafford. And if they can establish some semblance of a running game, then they turn the game over to a guy who many think is going to win the MVP in Matthew Stafford. And this is what they got Devontae Adams for, right? It was Puka Nacua, it was Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is gone, you bring in Devontae Adams. And so now, if they can run the football, Devontae Adams, you got to show up. It's got to be Stafford, it's got to be Adams, it's got to be Nacua. But the first thing they have to do is match the physicality of the Seattle Seahawks. If they do that, then they have a chance.
Booger, as much as we love talking about these conference championships games with you, we can't have you on without talking about the coaching carousel and whether or not you find the Bills or the Ravens head coaching vacancy more appealing. If you want a write-in candidate, you want to go off book, feel free.
You know, typically this would be an easy choice because I would choose the Buffalo Bills because I think they have the best player in the sport now in Josh Allen. But after that press conference yesterday with Terry Pagula and Brandon Beane, I'm not so sure I want to go work for that guy if he's going to point the finger every opportunity that he gets. So now you look at, from a structure standpoint and an ownership standpoint, look at Baltimore. Steve Bisciotti has done an outstanding job. Lamar Jackson is a two-time MVP. When you look at Ozzie Newsome, who's still around that program, Eric DeCosta, I think both of these teams are absolutely outstanding. I still think I would want the talent over the field. I get it. Terry Pagula did a horrible job of taking ownership of issues at the press conference. I'm talking about that may have been one of the worst press conferences I've ever seen an owner do when you sit up there with your new GM and head of football operations and you basically blame the former staff. With that being said, football is a game of talent, and Josh Allen is the best player in the sport. So right now, I still think the best job, only by a little bit, because Baltimore and Lamar Jackson and what they do with Steve Bisciotti, I think the world of that program. But because of Josh Allen, because he is who he is, I think the Buffalo Bills job is the best job. And I'm going to have a serious conversation with Terry Pagula, because what we do inside our locker room should stay in the locker room. I didn't like the fact that they talked about the players were crying. I didn't like the fact that they threw Keon Coleman under the bus. Keon Coleman is somewhere, Mike, on vacation. He catching strays from the owner and the GM.
Yeah.
Those things can't happen. But because of Josh Allen, I will take the Buffalo Bill job.
I agree with that. You dangle a diamond like Josh Allen, that kind of glitter is what you want to coach if you have the opportunity. We get you out of here on the college game, because I know you went to the college championships. Do you like Fernando Mendoza's prospects at the next level, the NFL level?
I do, Tony, because we've talked about this for years. I've been talking to you guys. I don't care about the quarterback, how big he is. I don't care how far he throws the football. I don't care what he runs the 40 in. My quarterback has to do two things. He's got to process information, and he's got to throw the football accurately. And Fernando Mendoza does that at the highest level. You watch some of those back shoulder fades that he threw against the Miami Hurricanes down in Miami. You watch how fast the ball came out. Even though Miami was bringing a ton of pressure, the ball came out of his hands quickly. It was accurate. Now, it helps the fact that he's 6'5" and 230 and can run quarterback draw and get the game-winning touchdown. That stuff helps. But when you're playing football in the National Football League, you better throw it accurately and you better process information quickly. And no one knows that better than the guy who's the minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's Tom Brady. He's not the biggest guy. He damn straight the fastest guy, but his ability to process information and throw the football accurately was outstanding. And I think he's going to appreciate what he saw from Fernando Mendoza. Oh, by the way, guess who was on the sideline in Miami, Tony? Tom Brady, John Spytek, minority owner, general manager. Yeah. They're going to appreciate what they saw in Miami. He's a tough kid. He throws it accurately. He can process. I think he's going to be the number one pick, and I can say that in January for April's draft.
Great pleasure to have you as always, Booger.
Thank you, Booger.
So
appreciate
much.
it.
Always, anytime, fellas.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, the Knicks bounce back just like Wilbon said they would.
And Baker Mayfield gets his fourth offensive coordinator in 4 years with the Buccaneers. He took some shots.
What did you say the Knicks would win by 25? Did they win by a lot more than 25?
Yeah, I underbid tremendously.
Yeah.
Take the over.
You had the spirit.